So, Gallimat. All right, this is going to be an Exploratorium episode based on how to read the Gal map. As an explorer, you're going to spend most of your time here um, figuring out what star, what nebula is around you in the skybox, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be important for you to learn how to read it properly. So if you're new or you are used to it, maybe you'll find something new. So let's start at the very basics. That is a chart of all the star icons you'll see. And you'll learn to recognize these at a glance. Of course, you can just click on them and see, oh, this is a brown dwarf. This is going to be an L dwarf. This is, so on and so forth. And you'll get a lot of variety in the bubble because they're all catalog stars, and you see like giants around here and O type stars, blue type stars, etc. So, first thing you know is that the distance that stars appear are based on your cursor position, not cursor position. They're based on your camera position and not your cursor position. So I'll leave the cursor here, and as I zoom out the camera, the stars generate around my camera, not the cursor. Second, stars of higher mass will appear further away. So what do I mean by this? If you know how to use voxels, you can see that this system is a C mass, and this system over here, as you can see farther away, it's a catalog star. Of course it is. Let's get away from the bubble real quick. So let's, for example, this is better. Watch this star right here. This is a E mass star, so relatively high mass. And watch the other lower mass B, A, C, etc. Mass stars disappear as I move away, but the E mass is still there, and then it disappears. And for example, let's go deeper in the core over here. You can use this to kind of find what kind of stars you want to see. So, for example, if you go up here, oh, a lot of EMAS stars right here. You can kind of gauge at what point the camera stops spawning the EMASs because you can see they're in chunks, right? Like there's a clear border right here from where the B types are and the other um, colder stars are. And you can also tell based on the star sprite. Now, the star sprite um, denotes its stellar luminosity. So right here, you see it's red giant of the stellar luminosity 3, which means it's giant. And like here, you can see it's a D mass, it's a carbon star. By the way, carbon stars are always going to be D mass as primary stars, and if you hover across it and it's E mass, then it's a G-type supergiant because the stellar icons look like basically the same. I actually have one conveniently right here. You can tell if I unbookmark it and zoom out and untarget it. You can see right there as I move around, it's still showing up even when I'm far away from it. And same as this is an E mass, probably. All right, it's a K-type supergiant. So the supergiants of E mass you can see from farther away. But if it's a D mass, like the carbon star we just saw, then it's not going to show up as far away because it's a D mass. And the same is for the higher mass, F, G, and H. But there's like usually black holes or like O-type stars. Is that an example? Or yeah, there's an F-type pretty far away. So they're in steps. You can see them farther away in steps, the higher they go in mass. Now it's also important on what you want to find. If you want to find, say, more evolved stars, then you're not going to be looking in the middle of a spiral arm. You want to use this number going up and down. This is your y coordinate going up and down. What is your Z coordinate? I forget how the coordinate systems work. Maybe by different, I forget. But um, keep in mind that if you want to find like neutron stars or want to find white dwarfs, red giants, they're most commonly found 1,000 light years, around 1,000 light years above the spiral arm. Now, of course, when you're in a spiral arm, you're not going to be finding a lot of stuff out here. It's going to be sparse, okay? And again, it's not going to go up to like 2,000, 3,000. It's going to taper off, yeah, around like 1,700. And then it's nothing. But if you want to go this exact same y coordinate to this part of the galaxy, you'll see a lot. There's a black hole right there, a lot of hot stars, and that's important. If you want to find more evolved stars, you want to either A, just go in the core, go around 1,000 light years up or down, or there's also another thing that I should probably mention is the suppression cross. Is the suppression cross
Right.
of suppressed high mass stars. You can tell whereabouts you are, not just by looking, because like if you go in here, you'll see, yeah, all these red stars. These are suppressed stars, right? They're not going to be like high mass anything. And then you can see the sudden change um,
Wow.
in like blue types. It's yeah, it's like immediate, but it's around 500 light years, so it's 1,000 light years in total, 500 on each side. And you can use X right here, or whatever character this is, to determine where you are and what's going to start spawning. Because if you know you're around 800, 500, you're in the cross. And as except Wolf Rants won't spawn here, but if you go beyond 1,000, you're gonna start seeing some Wolf Rants and more evolved stars. So that's another thing that you want to watch out for, especially if you're doing the neutron highway to Sagittarius A star, which by the way is actually a GMAS system. I didn't know that. It's a GMAS system, which is kind of ironic since it's like what 430 million solar masses. Why is it okay? I'm not even gonna look at that. Whoops! I just closed out of it. All right. Um, Reg just says it should be an IMAS system. True. It's a lot. It's a lot of mass, bro. Um, so I guess I should go over star types and what you can find and what you can't find. So, for example, stars that have multiple stars in the system. Let's just this for example. When you target it, the secondary stars will pop out. You see, and that's kind of a little visual representation of how many stars are in the system. Untarget it, it goes away. Especially, let's just go to another one. I know NGC 7822 has some whack ones over there. Now, if he got one with a lot of stars in it, of course, they're all O-type. Oh, another thing. Um, as you can see for procedurally generated stars, after the luminosity class, which in this case is a 5, Roman numeral 5, there's an A after it. Now it's going to be A, B, or B, or Z. Z indicates it's a zero age main sequence star, and it has just entered the main sequence, so it's a really young star. Uh, A indicates that for the class K9V or 5, it is on the hotter side of the K9 subclass. And another, for example, are all A's, aren't they? Holy cow. AB is in the middle temperature for the G9 class. And I guess we'll find, yeah, B's are on the lower end of their class. Also, what's very interesting, which I didn't even realize was a thing until not too long ago, is that if you look really closely, you can see a cube of stars kind of nestled around this nebula. I don't know if it'll look how it'll look in the stream, but like you see like this hard border of stars around the nebula right here too. So apparently, star generation is kind of modified when they're close to nebulae, which I guess is an H2 region. So I guess it would kind of make sense. But yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool. And even it's for apparently it's visible in Barnard's loop too. Um, yeah, right here, you see it? This big line of stars, big cube. Yeah, you can see the cube right here. That's crazy.
It's a box.
It's a box. So boxes. Oh, Regs, I had a question. I didn't even realize. How do you easily find H? No, you're good. H mass systems next to you quickly, like from H0, you want to find the closest H mass. Um, like, okay, so let's just say I'm in um the Achafi sector. If I'm in the Achafi sector and I want to find the closest H mass to me, then I just take my sector name and either just do that and it'll automatically go to AA-AH or type it in. Why isn't it? Oh, because I did that. Duh. Then do that. Is that what you're talking about? Um, I don't think it's a faster method. I think it's like honestly one of the only methods besides like using visual, like finding with your eyes. Oh, thank you. And again, give me more questions. Like this is gonna be Q&A too, so like just shout it out. I have like think more questions. Just ask me. I'm definitely gonna ask. Or, I mean, answer them. You can see the carbon stars, like the yellow giant icons. Why is the galaxy map trash at plotting routes? Well, it depends on star density, and also depends on what you're talking about. What do you mean by it is sort of trash, but like why? Does it like take you to star types that you filtered out, which does happen occasionally? Or like what? Did it take you out of the way sometimes? What? I'm curious as to what you mean. Now, like a charged at a neutron star and plots me to a system 30 light year away. Well, for longish routes, what it does is that it takes into account where you are in the galaxy, like the star density, and it takes into account the fuel you have remaining. It takes into account whether you can fuel at the current star or not, or it's a neutron star. I don't know why after the first jump it takes you to a system 30 light years away. If it's a neutron star, that's weird. I don't think I've ever had that before. Um, but yeah, like especially when it's always been a problem in like dense areas. Like the router has to find it's like a track. Like it'll jump here, then it'll test all these. Oh, you can jump here. Oh, neutron star here. I mean, I feel like it has been refined over the years, but it's just one of those things where it's just you can't make it as quick as you want to be because it's just the nature of how it works. You know what I mean? Um, even if there's a this is a 20 light year, yeah, there is a no, it's not. You can no, it's not a max 20,000 light years. It's a max of whatever light years. Because okay, I'm pretty sure it's only for the galaxy map. Because if I, for example, if I want to go here, uh, I want a place I've already been to. Okay, this How far away is this from me? Doesn't freaking tell me. Well, for example, if I wanted to go here, and I just hold to plot the route, it's gonna plot the route for me. Beside, like, regardless if it's more than 20,000 light years, right? I don't know why it limits it in the galaxy map, but in the system map, it is more than fine routing over the entire galaxy. See, 410 jumps, 31,000 light years away. I don't know why it limits it in the galaxy map, but not in the system map. I don't know. Um, but yeah, you can do that. Another question, please fire away. Also, by the way, for the distance, it plotted extremely quickly. I just want to point that out. Why do sectors like Kluku or Scoud have like a lot of HMAS systems, but the sectors that are nearby have like 50 HMAS systems? Is there a way to tell how many there are? What's causing it to form so many heavy HMAS systems? What? If I had to guess, so you know how like you saw it earlier, like how some like voxels themselves have way more um B type stars because they're a younger or a different metallicity or whatever um in that voxel. That might, I don't want to say that might be what it is, but it might just be that the scout sector is just that jank. I've never seen that before. Well, like, sure, granted, it's not that close to the core at all. It's in the middle. It's smack dab in the middle of this arm, which might be why. Um, Maybe it's because like this is where this arm and this arm connect, and it just, I don't know. That is, they do connect here, by the way, so that's kind of weird. That might be. It's probably not, but I'm just speculating. Yeah, that's weird. I guess it's just one of those flukes, that I can't explain it. Also, the same why by Eel Prowl right here, there's a ton of blue stars, compared to like the surrounding area. Like, it's weird because like if you go to like around here somewhere, it's not the same. It's more sparse, but over here, yeah, I've always found that weird. Maybe it's just like, yeah, as I said, just weird regions. So I could go into different star types of what you'll find in your adventures. So, interestingly enough, the game is kind of not consistent in generating star types. So, for example, we'll get M type, K type, G type, F type, A type, B type, and O type. Now, O, B, A, fine, girl, kiss me. This is the main sequence stars you can scoop from. These are the colder stars, or the later stars, and as they get hotter, they go to the earlier stars, the O types. They get hotter, and also they have shorter lives because they burn their hydrogen faster and they're more massive over here. And these M stars are cold and can last for trillions of years. Interestingly enough, the stellar forge generates some luminosity classes, I should say, for different types, but not others. So for the M types, we have, actually it goes M9, 6. When you see an M9 subclass, it'll always have the luminosity class of 6 or a sub dwarf. and then it'll go through M8 through M0, 5. Now, beyond that, we have M4. Now, what's interesting about M4 need to, is that only goes from M9 to M7. 4. Interestingly enough, this is called a subgiant. The four subclasses are called subgiants. They're on their way to becoming giants. But in game, they're only like zero point 0.2 solar radii. It is so strange. What's even weirder is that the actual M-type giants go from M6 to M0, which takes place above the subgiants. So the giants go from hot M0 to M6, and then the subgiants take over from 7 to 9. But thing is, these are actually giants right here. These are actually giants. They have large solar radii. When you jump into them, you'll immediately notice. But these, whoops, are not. These are fake giants. So when you see an M-type subgiant with the stellar class 4, even though the game says that they're red giants, they're not actually red giants. Keep that in mind. Um, Also, what is also interesting is that the game does not generate M2 or M1 supergiants. These are not procedurally generated by the Stellar Forge. You will not see them unless you visit catalog stars. Catalog stars can have M2 or M1 spectral types. Why that is, no idea. Now, let's go K type. You can have, I think you can have KX. There's some, all right, subdwarfs are interesting because they can kind of throw people for loops. So, say you have um, on the Gal map, you'll see a star with the type F8A and a 9-6. Now, what's interesting is that right here, this is going to be the lower mass, right? It's going to be lower mass because A types are more massive than F types. But the game considers this as the primary star in the system and is going to be the drop point. Now, why is this? Even though A types are more massive than F types, is because subdwarfs are weird. So they have a, well, I guess in real life, I should say, they have a lower metallicity. And actually, I think I wrote this down somewhere. Yeah. Now I'm just going to read from what I have here. They have low metallicity, and this decreases the opacity of their outer layers and decreases radiation pressure, resulting in a smaller, hotter star for a given mass. Interesting. So it can be hotter, which is why it might be considered an A type, but it's not massive. So the game considers drop points based off of mass. That's going to drop point and not this. Okay. Now I have that out of the way. Obviously, we do see K0 through 9 main sequence stars, 5. Regza says, so subdwarfs are negative A-type stars? No, that was an example. Subdwarfs are hotter for and smaller for a given mass. It can go all over the place, except I don't think there are subdwarf B or O stars. We'll get to that shortly. There are I think, actually, no, there are not. There are no K4 stars procedurally generated. No, no, no. K4s are not generated. Yeah. But K3 is. And you'll find these mostly in the core. Was where I usually find K3s. Outside of the core, you'll find K2s. These are called bright giants. 3 are normal giants. 2s are bright giants. They're brighter. And for the usual D mass, you'll find them being K2b. For E mass, you can find them being K2ab or K2a. And for K3s, I'm pretty sure you'll find them in A, B, and B. But don't quote me on that. And interesting thing, these K-type supergiants, I think they go from 0 to 2. And the thing about this is that these are fake. They're not fake. For some reason, in the journals, as well as in the system map and the galaxy map, I can show you right now. Actually, shoot, it won't show my game lit. We're going to give you an example. If you go to, this is not good. Let's go over here. Go to the codex. You go to K-type star. K-type star. K-type supergiant. It says it's a K-type star. Blah blah blah. With the Yerkes luminosity class 1A, 1AB, or 1B. You go to it. It's EMAS star. But interesting, the star class says it's an M-type red supergiant star. K-type, M-type. What's going on here? Well, system map. It's like it looks like K-type star. The temperature is around the K-type, 5,000 Kelvin, but it gives the description of a red M-type red supergiant star, and over here it still says M-type red supergiant, and in the journals it'll tell you it is an M-type red supergiant star, which is what shows up on EDSM. So K-type supergiants, they don't exist on other databases because the journal shows them as M-type red supergiant stars. I have no idea why this happens, but this might be I don't know, but this might be why M-type Procgen M supergiants don't spawn because they are mislabeled here. All right, now we know that the K-type supergiants are kind of whack. Let's go to G types. Now G types can have G-type subdwarfs. They can obviously have, I'm just going to do this now, is all the types 0 through 9 in the main sequence. But interesting thing, the game doesn't have G-type. The Stellar 4 just doesn't generate subgiants. They don't generate G-type giants. They don't generate G-type bright giants. All of these are not generated. They do generate, as we've seen earlier in the video, G0 through 9 supergiants. So for some reason, only these 3 star classes are generated by the Stellar Forge. Over here, we have F types, which is marginally different compared to G types in terms of generation. We have F type 6, we have F type 5, and interestingly, we have F type 4. Now, I've actually only recently found out that the game generates spectral class F4. And interesting thing is that they are not actual subgiants. They're just plain supergiants. They have stellar radiuses of like 30 to 40 stellar radii. And I'll show you right now. Let's go back over to the game. I'm so glad Bass can edit this because I'm going all over the place. I feel so bad for him. We go to, and yeah, it doesn't count itself as an F-type giant. But what's weird is that for the M types, the luminosity class 4 does count as red giant. So I don't know what the intermediary is between there. So if we find, yeah, F type star 40, and also it's an E mass. These stars, the F type subgiants will always be an E mass. I click on them, as you see, F4A. I've only seen them as A, not A, B, or B, but A. We click on them, yeah, these are big stars. This has a Ringdale dwarf. Look at that. That is crazy. So technically, F-type giants do exist, but they're called subgiants in the game. And what I want, okay, how much you want to bet that these are bigger than supergiants? We got 45 solar radii right here. Hold on. This is going to be so funny. I guarantee you, this is how it is. Hold on. I guarantee you it doesn't break like 30. Okay, so it's around the same, actually. Okay. So supergiants and subgiants are practically the same. Keep that in mind. I was surely thinking they're like 26 radii. Reg just says elite makes sense, but doesn't at the same time. Yep, that is very true. I think I found one in Riker's Hope too, didn't I? If you want to see if you can find it, just go to F type, normal F type, and see if the radius is just super freaking big. More than like 1.9 or whatever. Yeah, they're around the same radius. So I don't know what makes them be called subgiants versus supergiants. That is very weird. And they're also EMAS too. So yeah, it's very weird. All right, back to the drawing board. We know that F4s are previously generated. That means F3s are not, F2s are not, and F1s obviously are. Now to A type. A type subdwarfs exist. A type dwarfs exist. But I have not seen any A subgiants. I have not seen any A giants. I have not seen A bright giants, but of course we have seen A super giants. Now, interesting thing, these super giants, they can go to these classes and above can have higher mass super giants. So the ones that are in B mass, or E mass have the identifier B. And if I'm just going to write this down, I think it's around 1AB and 1A, you can have F mass. I don't want to say G mass. It might be G mass, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, but they can also be H mass. I believe A1As can also be, and the same goes for all these other types over here. Now, B types. B types are fun. I think B types have the most variety of spectral types generated in the game. So you have B type. Actually, I don't think they have. I don't think they have subdwarfs. So I'm not confident on putting that up there. But I know they have B type dwarfs. They do have subdwarfs, subgiants. I keep mixing them around. They have giants, which so far, besides M, is the only other. Well, I guess K2, but yeah, for some reason these don't have threes in them. They do have B2s, which unbelievably is the only freaking class besides Ks that have bright giants in them. I don't know why. These can be found in HMass as well as GMass and I think FMass. I think I found an FMass one in Izanami. I'm in the game right now. I just want to see. I feel sorry for Basque. He needs to edit all of this out. But these can be found in FMass. I know B super giants can be found in FMass too. They can go all the way up to HMass, but also there is another type beyond this that is specifically in HMass that you guys might not have actually noticed, but it's a thing. Okay, so we do have subdwarfs. Thank you very much. I wasn't sure about that. So okay, thank you. Let's put B6 up there. Now, we got one more. B1AO. This spectral type right here is a hypergiant. Now, these are the ones that are capped at 500 solar radii. Interestingly, they are not called hypergiants by the game. Even though there are actually hypergiants in the game, they're just classified as supergiants. That makes supergiants have maxima all the way up to 500. Well, hard cap at 500 goes up to 499.999 solar radii. You get it. So let's go back to the game real quick, and let's just go to a random. It's really here, right? Surely, surely. All right, B91AO. Now that's a hypergiant, and that's probably gonna have a very large radius. Regza asks, "What's VZ?" VZ is called a zero age. The Z comes from zero age main sequence star. Those are stars that have just entered the main sequence, and they're young stars. And they're cooler and will get hotter as they progress through their main sequence life. So that means like there's also when you see like B0 VZ, all the stars in that system are going to be um, zero age main sequence, unless they're T-Tauri, which are often found with zero ages. So yeah, that's what I was going to show you. All right, if we go to the bubble, not the bubble, the Inner Spiral quick, I'll show you. Big ones are technically hypergiants, but there's a strange thing. There's also a named C-type hypergiant, which actually has the correct luminosity class O. And the only one that I know of is in 171 Puppis, and it's not even the primary star in the system. Right here. It's weird to see the O just sitting there. F9 main sequence star and a C1 hypergiant. What's even better is that when we go to the system, it's not even more than 40 solar radii. It's not a hypergiant, which makes me I'm like, what? This makes no sense. Sorry, I need to compose myself. Bro, you want to know something even better? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Oh yeah. This exploratorium is knocking your socks off, isn't it? Say no white dwarfs, right? Let me knock your socks off again. Hold on. Let me sort for white dwarfs real quick. See how they have a luminosity class of 7, which is normal for white dwarfs? There's some of them. This is so stupid. This is so stupid. Yeah, you can have a white dwarf hypergiant. It's not 7, it's a 0, which makes no sense. You go to this one, it's 7. You go to this one, it's a DQ hypergiant. And that's not the only one. I think there's another one somewhere that is also a 0. And it's a white dwarf. It's just a white dwarf. But it has the spectral type of DQ, which is carbon rich, and is not procedurally generated by the stellar forge. 0. I'm pretty sure there's Electrici on one of these moons, right? Which is funny, but yeah. A hypergiant is 0, or if it's procedure generated, 1 AO. I don't know. I don't know, bruh. But also, they look different in the galaxy map too, if I need to find it again. Yeah. Let's focus on it real quick. Look, you know how regular white dwarfs look, right? Let's untarget this. Look at that. It looks like a supergiant with the icon, not like the usual white dwarf. But it's a slightly different color. And I put this on my chart that Bask put earlier in the video. Sorry, I was like crying a little bit. That was just so funny to me. Let's go back to the drawing board. Also, I don't know. I think 1AOs exist as well. I think that's an actual thing too. I think these are these hypergiants. Yeah, I think 1AO exists too. I forgot that. Um, yes, so to O. Now, I as I said, there probably isn't an O type subdwarf, but I think there is. Uh, pause. What is it, Regza? How's a hypergiant more massive than? All right, that's not all right. You played this game long enough. You should know how it works. Okay, just because it's bigger doesn't mean it's more massive. Okay, think about it. If you think about it, red giants are not even more than 3 solar masses, and they're losing mass through stellar winds. Just because they're bigger doesn't mean they're more massive. That's an O-type giant. It's going to be more massive than a very bloated B-type supergiant that is currently losing its mass. Same with her big stars. Her big stars are super freaking tiny, but they can have B-types orbiting them. It's crazy. Your brain is still processing white dwarf hypergiants, bro. That blew my mind when I first saw that. All right, back to O-types. Now, if someone can confirm for me, if they don't mind, do O subdwarfs exist? I can't think off the top of my head if they do or not. So we're gonna do that for now. I don't know. We know that Interesting. I've only seen 0 age, 0 temperature number, O types in the main sequence. I have not seen like O9V or O4V. I've only seen O0VZ, which is weird. Which is even weirder is I don't think in real life O0 is type. I think it goes all the way to what, like 3? Okay, actually it goes up to 2. So yeah, O0 doesn't exist yet. We have whoopsies. O4, O3. We do not have O2 or O1, which is also interesting. Now, we are going to erase this and we're going to go into the more evolved stars. No. All right. For the more evolved stars, let's start with the carbon stars first, which are my favorite star classes. So for all the carbon stars in the game, I'm gonna list out the classes. We have C, Cn, Cj, S, and MS. Now, if you've been exploring long enough, you'll know that just C types, this one right here, this is not procedure generated. This is just a catalog class. So let's erase those. So for the procedurally generated carbon stars, you only see these 4 types: Cn, Cj, S, and Ms. Now, what these are, they, how do I describe this? They signify a different stage in the life of a carbon star. So these are on the AGB, or the asymptotic giant branch, on the HR diagram. And we start with M-type giants on the RGS, or red giant stage. And these stars are making carbon more and more numerous than oxygen in their atmospheres. So, as you guys know, hydrogen fuses into helium through the proton-proton chain. And helium, when a star is progressed enough in its life, will begin to fuse in its core and create carbon and oxygen. Now, for most stars, they're going to be called oxygen rich. They're going to have a higher ratio of oxygen in their atmospheres than carbon. But interestingly, some stars can have more carbon in their atmosphere than oxygen. And that gives them a very sooty, more ruby red appearance, which I like looking at through my telescope. So these carbon stars are, or were, I guess, M-type red giants, and they've progressed to MS stars. And MS stars, so these 2 stars here have what's called titanium oxide, TiO, in their atmospheres. And that's normal. Like the stars of this temperature, that is normal in their atmospheres. But as they progress farther through the MS stage, they develop zirconium oxide in their atmospheres. And what's interesting is that this is how they measure the sequence between M and Cn stars. We'll get there in a moment. And it identifies the abundance of this compared to this. And when it's plenty enough, we'll get S stars. So S stars are zirconium stars. They are not yet carbon stars, but the game classifies them as carbon stars just for an overarching similarity, which makes sense. I get that. But these have zirconium oxide in their atmospheres. And what's interesting is that the game does not do, they have a different classification scheme for S-type stars. So, for example, they have slash notations. So, for example, if we are to write their temperature number 1 and then a slash, this is like an abundance. This is the temperature number. This is the abundance number of how, like, the ratio, excuse me, of carbon to oxygen in atmospheres. S4 is, I think, like 0.97 or something like that. So, of course, this is simulated, I hope, in the game, but you can't find it in the game, but it's just cool to know. After this, there is we're supposed to be a star class that is between S and Cn. This is called SC. Now, in the journal, I forget what it's called. There's a journal handbook or journal manual online that lists CS stars as a star in the game, but that is not found. But in the sequence from M stars to carbon stars, this is a spectral class that can occur. They are moving towards more and more carbon in their atmospheres until they reach Cn. When they're true carbon stars, and you see a lot of these have more red appearances compared to maybe like an orange appearance over here. It just depends. But here you have diatomic carbon in atmospheres. And what CJ stars are here is that they have more carbon 13 in their atmospheres compared to other usual carbon stars. That's all it is. But their manner of getting more carbon is, I don't think it's understood yet. It might be that they're in binary pairs and they get their carbon from a companion. I don't know. But for classifying them based on their luminosity class, let's line them up the way we did before. MS, S, CN, CJ. And I want to point out that CJ is way more rare than CN, S, or MS. I think there's only around like 2,000 CJ stars in the game versus probably like 20,000 and for the rest of them. So all these stars will come in giant luminosity classes. All these will have 3, but they vary based on their temperature. MS and S stars can have a temperature between 0 and 6. And interestingly enough, 0 through 2 can have the 3A and AB. And that only occurs for 0 through 2. The rest, 3 through 6, are B. I don't know why that is. It's just the way it is. Interesting enough for here, these two can only come in 4 through 6. They don't go up to 0 like the hotter ones. So that means their temperature range is more restricted. And they can only be found in the B identifier for the luminosity class, not the A or AB, only the B. No idea why that is. So that's all you need to know for carbon stars. And way back when in Horizons, they used to have a really cool glow to them, but now they don't because Frontier hates us and they're not going to change it back. And white light is boring. This game sucks. Just kidding. I didn't say that. How do M stars generate carbon stars? Only 13 billion years old. M type red supergiants are not M type main sequence stars. You need that's different. M type main sequence is not the same as M type giants. Like, for example, our sun, a G type star, will become an M type red giant star. It's just a stage in stellar evolution. Stars, the same star can go through all the spectral types when it gets bigger. It can go through a G type supergiant, it can go through a red type supergiant, it can go back and forth. Depending on if it's like a variable star or it's especially if you look up the what's called the instability strip on the HR diagram. So this isn't a stage in the star cycle. It's not an M type um dwarf. These are probably like yeah, A types, F types. They're of higher mass, but they don't say they're higher mass in the game, or maybe because of mass loss through their star winds. Next up is Wolf Rayet stars. Now in the game, you'll come across a few different types. W, WN, WNC, and WO. Now, W, just like C, is unclassed Wolf Rayet star from a catalog. So these are not procedure generated. All that's left are WN, WNC, and WO. It is also worth noting that every single Wolf Rayet star, no matter its actual temperature, no matter its actual size, will always say, for example, WN 01. It is the hottest in its class and it is a supergiant. This is not the case in the game, especially for the colder ones. I don't know why this happened. It should be WN9. It shouldn't even happen at all because they shouldn't be that cold. But if you know, you know. They can go as cold as 2 Kelvin. And they're also not even supergiants either, but I guess the game doesn't know the difference between a dwarf and a supergiant, I guess. Um, so WN stars have ionized nitrogen lines in their atmospheres. And also, I just want to point out that this way gets hotter. So the colder WN stars, well, they come from O type stars and then they transition to OF stars and then they go to WN stars. They have lines of ionized nitrogen where the N comes from in their spectral type. We can also see this in the description of the star in the system map. WNC stars are just in the game like that. WNC stars have lines of ionized nitrogen and carbon. And getting hotter still, we have WO. I'm pretty sure it's a relatively newer Wolf Rayet class that has lines of ionized nitrogen, carbon, and oxygen, as well as helium, I think, too. Um, but as I said earlier, I could probably go back to the game now and show you an example for people who do not know. Yeah, for example, we have one over here, a Wolf Rayet O type star with a 0 as a temperature number, and its luminosity class is a 1, meaning is a supergiant. And it's cold. It's a effective temperature of 839 Kelvin and only 9 solar radii, even though it is very massive. They do not appear brilliant blue. And I don't know what makes them like this. I guess they forgot to set a lower bounds for the temperature generation. I don't know. It might just be a roll of the dice. I don't want to say that, but It makes no sense. Another one over here, I think, is in the Chumai. Yes, this is a cold red one that I found. Really nice. WNC stars are basically O-type Titori stars? Well, no. AEB Herbig stars are O-type Titori stars. Oh, I'm pretty sure every single Wolf Raid spectral class can be cold. Like as cold as that. Oh, by the way, Herbig stars are fun. We'll get to that after this. Is that an Earth-like world orbiting a white water world in 1.4 days? Oh my goodness. Don't steal it from me, guys. Anyways, we'll get back to that later. Back to the drawing board. Go. You guys saw nothing. You didn't see anything. Gaslighting real? What are you talking about? That's just a Earth-like moon orbiting a wolf or a water world in 1.4 days. Next, we have pre-main sequence stars. Now, in the game, these come in two types. We have T-Tori and AE, BE, Herbig stars. Now, the defining line between these two is that these go up to around, I think, 3 solar masses. And these are from 2 to around, I think, 8 solar masses in real life. Of course, they can go to around 100 solar masses in the game, but the game is the game. So we all know how that goes. Um, Now, T-Tories can go really cold. These are not scoopable because they're not fusing hydrogen to helium in their cores. But yes, these can go to beyond 10,000 Kelvin. But these, for some reason, despite technically being A-type and B-type stars, only max out at just above 6,000 Kelvin, which makes them F-types. And they can go to near like 2,500 Kelvin, which makes no sense. I believe earlier in the game's life, they were bright A-type, B-type stars, but that's changed. And also, for some reason, they're like super tiny. Well, they can be super tiny. Like E-mass Herbigs are very tiny. H-mass Herbigs are around like the size of of the sun. Um, but these can be in all masses, A through H. These can be in E mass through H mass. Regza says, "Why is wait? Is that her big? No. Because they're still forming star systems, and so they're still cold. Well, technically, they're supposed to be a circumstellar disk, and they're supposed to be coalescing into planets, and like planets are running into each other and whatnot. Um, but I don't know what to tell you. I don't know why. Because if I don't want to get off topic here, but to go back to her big stars. Well, actually, it's even weirder. So it is possible for B types to orbit her big stars. And of course, I can't find the one I'm looking for now. This isn't mine, but I'm envious of whoever's this because it is super cool. This water world orbits this brown dwarf in 0.0 days. It is beyond the exclusion zone of this star. Um, yeah, and these orbit each other in 0.2 days, which is super whack. So I recommend you a bookmark this system, well, not the planet, and go visit it because it is Actually, no, I have pictures. I will show you pictures. Sorry, Bask, I'm ruining your presentation. Is this in G? No, it is not, but I'm too lazy to put this in the GEC because I have such a weird scale of what deserves to be in the GEC. And also, Dryo. I just found the cold wolf red star I wanted to find. 347 Kelvin, not even 10 solar radii, versus an actual supergiant, which is classed as a giant at 177 solar radii. And actually, I have another picture right there of this exact binary. Oh, I need to tap back into it, then it'll detect it, right? Yeah. Bro, her big systems are slept on, let me tell you. I will continue. Anyway, T-Tauri stars can range from luminosity class 6 to luminosity class 4. Her big stars can only exist with some dwarf and dwarf spectral class or luminosity class. Um, that's really all for those. I guess I can go over black holes and neutrons. Oh, white dwarfs, white dwarfs, white dwarfs. Let's go over the different types of dwarfs. White dwarfs. We have D, DC, DA, DV, DAV, DQ, DAZ, DBZ. Now, DQ does sound good. I can slurp up some ice cream right now. Anyway, missing two. Luminosity classes for white dwarfs are depicted as 7 unless you're drunk, and they can also be depicted as 0 for hypergiants, because why not? So, D is an unspecified white dwarf. Um, if I had to guess, probably because the game took um, data from a catalog, and that star had a spectral type that is not included in the game or supported by the game. For example, like there's also like DZ and like DQZ. There's a lot of other ones. So for the sake of the game, why did I choose soft? D doesn't exist, and DQ, carbon rich atmospheres, are not procedurally generated. Even though the weirdest thing is that they're not. They have their own description. They have their own class, DQ. Why not? You know what? Ice cream. We have white dwarf ice cream. Now, procedure generated white dwarfs will always have their spectral type D, X, whatever, even though it's actual in real life thing. And their temperature number will always be 0. I don't know why. It's always 0 and 7. DC white dwarfs, I believe, have no spectral um, lines, no significant lines, hydrogen or helium. Um, DA white dwarfs have lines of hydrogen. DB lines have helium. DAB have lines of hydrogen and ice cream has carbon lines in its atmosphere. DAZ, these are metallic white dwarfs. Interestingly enough, these are basically like helium-rich gas giant. The reason why is that they can only be found in moderately helium-rich voxels. So if we go to a random, let's just say like right here, we go to stars, go to DPZ. You only find DAZ and DBZ paired moderately helium-rich voxels. So for example, if you go through here, start running the gauntlet here, you got DB, DA, DC, got DAZ right here, DAB, well, another DBZ, DAZ, DAZ, M-type giant, DAZ. They're all in moderately higher metallicities, which makes sense because they're metallic stars, metallic metal-rich stars. And you can see they're in the higher end, 27.8%, 27% helium. Go back and we go back. We can find that the structure of the galaxy actually has an effect on where they're at. So, another one. Got a DBZ here. Copy that. DAZ, DAZ, K9 giant, DAZ, DAZ. Go all the way through here. There was a DBZ somewhere around here. I bet there is a DBZ somewhere around here besides the one we saw earlier. Oh, you saw a DBZ right there? So they're just like helium-rich gas giants. They're all in voxels of relatively higher metallicity, which makes sense because they are metal-rich stars. And also as why you cannot find them in the core. Go down to white dwarfs again. DAZ and DBZ, they're not here because there's a cap on the metallicity of these regions, and they just won't spawn here. The more you know. Regza asks, what is that H bookmark you have near the bubble? That's a star called H. You can't search for it in the galaxy map because it limits it to 2 or more characters. Oop. Just H. So HA is ha. Sorry. um, but you know what I can give you, since you're asking so politely, Regzo. I'll go into my journals real quick and give you the actual name of it so I can let you search for it. All right. The system address is that. We can go to EDJP. And then we go to ID64 to PG name. Thank you. It should be that. All right. So search that, and that will show up for H. You're welcome. Also, there's the M96 I was talking about earlier. You're welcome. I'm such a great host. Well, actually, I'm not the host. Bask is the host. I'm just the guy he brought in to tell you how it is. Continuing with metal-rich stars. DBZ is a helium-rich, metal-rich star. The rarest star in the game, by the way. I think around just less than 500 of these known. DAV are stars with hydrogen lines that have variable V gravity waves pulsing around the star. Same for DBV, except with helium lines. Oh, if you guys want to know what this is down here, this is a group of stars completely cut off from the rest of the galaxy. For some reason, the stellar forge cut out a spot where this is the end of the arm right here, and there is nothing. No stars. Then all of a sudden, it pops up again. I don't know why the Stellar Forge made this little bubble, but nobody can reach this. I think it's over 1,000, like 1,500 light years between the closest two stars. And yeah, this is the only part of the galaxy no one has actually visited yet, which I find freaking awesome. Let's find a CJ star. I'll give you an example of how to find a CJ star. Let's go like around here somewhere. All right, so what I want to do to find a CJ star, I know what they look like. They're in D mass. I know if I hover over one, that's an E mass, so it's going to be a G-type supergiant, right? Yep. So when you go down to negative 1,000, so they can spawn, and look for the yellow sprite. There's one, D-type or D mass, so it's going to be S-type, MS. And I just keep on scrolling through. I scroll I keep the cursor close to the camera so I can more easily move around. If I do like this, then yeah, I'm not going to be seeing. I guess I could, but what if I have to move the camera? I move it more out of the way, so I want to be close so I can rotate it closer toward my camera is. Down here? Nope. All right, think about that. All right, so Regs, I just brought up a good point actually. Why can't I just go over here and type carbon stars? Now I want you to see from, you can only use this mode if you're close enough. Because unlike the realistic view, you can see them from far away or farther away. Like I just saw. Oh, for example, you see one right here, right? If I can't click on it, whatever. If I go to realistic view, you can't see that, and it's only if you get closer do you actually see it. Then you can see the rest. So yeah, you can do this way, but honestly, I think it's preference. And you don't know how the voxel looks because you might be in a younger voxel that doesn't have any carbon stars in it. So you can just tell, like for example, this is you see a lot of neutron stars, black holes. This is a voxel with an older age, so carbon stars can spawn here. So I'll look around. Also because it's not just carbon stars that we're trying to find, but in this example, I'm just trying to find carbon stars. Right down here. S-type. And also, if you really want to like kind of give your eyes like some space to see or like kind of see where a yellow dot is, you can do this and you can use parallax to kind of judge like where if it's like not a closer yellow star like this or an actual carbon star like that. Also notice how this is MS1AB for the MS stars. But if I go to A CN star. Ooh, MSOA. That's the hottest you can go for MS stars. I'm going to bookmark that. Can I click it? S1. Let's try this way again. MS1, MS0. They're really hot, actually. What the heck? I never get this. CN5. Yeah. CN5, S3. Oh, there's one. I saw it. This is why I don't use this view. It's just so I can't see anything. S5, MS0, S2. Yeah, in this case, you got to keep close to your cursor. Otherwise, you're not going to see anything. I saw that barely. CN, CN, MS. Let's use this method again. Oh, I saw one right down there. S4. There's A-type supergiant right here. A41B. You kind of see what I'm talking about too. You see the more closer ones, it's type, it's a G mass, but farther away, the G mass, and the closer ones, F mass. This is the other side, so this must be carbon star. Yeah, the more you do this, you can tell at a glance what the star looks like and what you know it's a carbon star, or like a slight color variation between a B type and maybe an A type supergiant. That's also how you can tell K type supergiant, regular K type bright giants. Um, if you see one and you move away and it goes away, it's D mass and it's a giant, but if it's E mass, it'll stay there a little. So if you guys have any more questions while I'm doing this, feel free to ask, or just like about anything in general, not just about stars. What do sectors above the galactic plane spawn Herbigs, but bottom it spawns black holes? That's just not true. It varies. Like for example, what's that? What is that? Oh, yeah. Um, below the roof. Well, I'm below the roof, not at the roof. I'm below the roof. This is the roof up here. There's only O types up here.